Do you also have sometimes a bad feeling in your stomach when it comes to changes with respect to AI? You know, something like AI will change the world completely in just a few years. Or maybe my job is becoming obsolete due to AI. More and more people are facing this AI anxiety. But you know, sometimes it's important that we feel such a fear and such a sense of hopelessness because this is actually from where we can grow. Now picture yourself. You're a midlife professional and you're checking out your colleagues' LinkedIn profiles and you see that many of them are already reorienting towards AI. And you're thinking, am I gonna be left behind? Am I fading into obsolescence? But here is the game changer. That doubt isn't your enemy. It's actually your wake-up call and your doorway to sovereignty. My name is Ingo Schulmeier. I'm the founder and host at The Small Reset. And like 5 years ago, I was standing at the same crossroads like you are standing today. For more than 2 decades, I built a corporate career into management and engineering, just to find out one day that something is changing and maybe that is not enough anymore. So I gave up everything, I took my family, and we moved to Mexico, where I started a new, sovereign, and independent life for us. Why? Because I thought I cannot do that anymore for another 20 years until retirement. Or with all the technological changes, eventually I would have been wiped out even earlier. So I decided to make the changes that I dreamed of for such a long time. And in this video, I will show you how you can do the same. We will harness Carl Jung's shadow work to decode your AI fears and to also reveal your rejected strengths and arm you with steps to transform dread into unshakable sovereignty. So if you're in your midlife, let's say between 40 and 55, and you're facing career stagnation or tech overwhelm, this is your small reset moment. Stay here and let's turn that anxiety into your superpower. You know the situation. You're a professional in your field, you trained what you're doing for decades, and now suddenly a random AI tool can do the task that took you years, whether it's some coding or engineering task, or even a new marketing strategy. These AI tools can master it faster and better than you would have thought of. Your decades of skills, your networks, your family security now suddenly feel fragile. And it came quite rapidly. It started like 2 years ago with a small whisper. But in 2025, those whispers have become a roar. But the latest surveys show that you're not alone. Pew Research shows that 52% of US workers are more worried than hopeful about AI's workplace impact, and this is drastically increased to last year. Another research shows that 65% of young adults, and increasingly also midlifers like us, are exposed to AI-related stress. And this comes all together with a broader crisis of disconnection. On a global level, the IMF and the WEF, the World Economic Forum, they warned that AI could disrupt 40% of all jobs, which would displace 92 million people by 2030. But let's be honest, it's not just about the job we have. For us, it's also something personal. It belongs to our identity. Because we want to stay relevant. And we need that for our egos. Especially in midlife. You're not the youngest anymore, but still you have a long road to go. And you have loved ones that are counting on you. And you're asking yourself, am I too late to adapt? If you ignore these feelings, they paralyze you. They're trapping you in hollow identities and location-bound routines. But let me tell you, it doesn't have to be like that. Here at the Small Reset, we don't see this development as an apocalypse, but we see it as a signal, an honest call to release your limiting beliefs and to rediscover your possibilities, and to turn AI disruption into a catalyst for economic streams, existential purpose, and geographic freedom. Just look at my story. I was that engineer, that manager, the director, and I was somehow chained to my desk. I was successful, but not really happy. And I saw the change coming, especially during the pandemic, where so many things in my daily work started to change. But these changes helped me actually to rethink my career and to rethink what I really want. That requires that you develop a deep and honest understanding of yourself. And you can do that by shadow work that was introduced by Carl Jung. So let's walk your hero's journey together and let's start going into the depths and from there escalating to empowerment. And now I want to explain you how shadow work works. First, we need to understand what shadow is. The shadow is one of Carl Jung's archetypes. Carl Jung developed his model of the archetypes. And what he's saying is that there are different archetypes that we have in us, and they're basically all in our unconsciousness. So most of the people today usually they don't like to deal with their unconsciousness. But let me tell you, this is a mistake because our complete self is not just our ego and our identity and the masks we wear in our daily lives. It's also what we have deep inside ourselves. So if we want to integrate into a whole human being, we need to integrate these archetypes. And one of these archetypes is what Jung calls the shadow. In our shadow, we usually have our repressed parts that we have buried, for example, to fit into our corporate world. These can be vulnerabilities, like the fear of change, but also untapped resilience and unlived creativity. And this is something very personal, but all of us, we locked away parts of our characteristics in order to give priority to other characteristics. For example, we gave up parts of our passion for more security. And in our daily lives, in our jobs, that's also sometimes okay because it allows us to do tasks much more focused and with much more dedication. But in the long term, it's important to understand the price we are paying. And first of all, that we actually have this characteristic and that we have these traits. And this is a moral challenge because it requires effort to integrate into this wholeness. And this way or this path of overcoming this challenge is what Jung calls the individuation process. And this is your path to rising into freedom. So up to now, we talked about personal traits that are part in our shadow. But there's also a collective part to that. And this is something we adopted from our societies. And it's what Jung calls the collective unconsciousness. And this can include the fear, for example, or the anxiety we developed about a new development, like in this case, about the AI disruption. So there's a collective fear that we take over, and it also helps us to feel normal because we understand that other people feel the same like us. And sometimes we are not even aware what is paralyzing us. The problem is that this can really lead to an identity crisis because what's happening is that we are not aware of the root cause, so we're projecting our fear on something else. In our case, we have some worries about ourselves or our sense or our meaning, and we blame AI for that. For example, if we fear obsolescence, we're actually just projecting our procrastination or our stagnation that we have denied for so many years, and we're not willing to continuously learn anymore. Or if we fear irrelevance, we think we're replaceable, but that just means we're focusing on the wrong skills. We're focusing on skills that can be replaced by AI and not on our true values and on true human traits. Or some existential thing. If we're worried about AI dehumanizing our society, that's also just repressing your human edge. Because aside AI, you still have the possibility to stay human and to act and behave human. Or even worse, in our collective unconsciousness. As a society, we see AI as unpredictable and as a strong disruptor for our culture. And this fuels our ancestral fear of chaos coming from AI. But let me tell you again, these feelings are normal. And we all have them sometimes. And the main thing is just to become aware of them. So let's have a look how shadow work can work as your antidote, as an active quest to illuminate and to integrate your shadow. And let me be here very clear. It's not about therapy. It's about tools that you can use for yourself to work on yourself and to understand yourself better. It's actually empowered action. It's your small reset ritual, blending rational steps with spiritual insight. And shadow work has clear benefits. It reduces stress, it heightens adaptability, and it improves your liberation journey. I want to introduce now 2 exercises how you can apply shadow work in your daily lives. The first exercise is the shadow mirror. That's your daily ritual for more clarity. The first step is list 3 AI anxieties and be very specific here, right? Like not just saying I'm afraid of AI, but say something like AI is automating my role and it makes me unimportant. Okay, and don't just take the example, do it very personal. Think about it for a few minutes and really write down what comes to your mind. I also really want to encourage you to write it down with pen and paper. Don't just write it in a computer, because this is also a very powerful ritual. If you use a pen and paper, that's an amazing tool on your individuation journey, and it helps tremendously to get your thoughts out of your unconsciousness and to make them actually conscious. The second step now is you probe deeper. You're just not just looking on the fear, you're asking what rejected strengths does this reveal? Because usually the fear is coming up because you're avoiding some parts in yourself, some skills that you had maybe in your past, some like a creative outlet that you used to do or something like that. So think about your strengths with which you could address this fear. The third step is just to brainstorm and journal. Like, how is this shown? What does this fear do to you? How is it holding you back? Like, for example, are you avoiding dealing with AI tools out of fear? Or are you afraid to learn more because you think anyway it's useless because anyway you will be replaced? And the fourth step is to integrate. Write down an affirmation, like I claim this, and then act on that. And the goal here is not to get rid of the fear. The goal is to act despite the fear, and by that to overcome the fear and integrate this fear, and to rediscover your real skills. And the good thing here is you can use AI as your ally, because AI is a powerful tool, and we're not saying here you should not use AI, we're saying you should definitely use it, but you should not be afraid of that, because in the same way as it can replace your job, it can also leverage your skills, and it can help you to amplify your human skills. The second exercise I have for you is the archetype mapping. This helps you to go even deeper into your quest for wholeness. Let me recap quickly on Jung's archetypes. The archetypes are universal and symbolic pattern in our collective unconsciousness, and they act like blueprints of our human experiences. And you can think of them as different persons within us. Like we all have a hero in us, we all have a feminine and a masculine part within us, and we all have our shadow. And there are a few more we will talk about in a later video. And they're speaking to us, these archetypes. They're speaking to us in our dreams, and they also shape our behavior across cultures. If you want to know more about archetypes, and if you want to understand which archetype are you, jump to our website. There's an archetype business test, and this helps you to understand which archetype profile you have, so which is your dominant archetype, and how this can help you to found your own business. So check out the link in the show notes and do the test. You will get a detailed analysis of your archetype. Now, in our archetype mapping exercise, the first step is you personify AI as an archetype. Let's say AI is the trickster that's sparking some chaos. And step 2 is you journal again. What shadow in me does this archetype reflect? So if AI could talk to you, what would it say? How would it behave? If you think about AI as this archetype, you can actually have a mental dialogue with AI. Ask it, what do you want from me, AI? Why am I afraid of you? How can we support each other? This is also a great way to integrate AI as part of yourself and to accept it as a reality. And the last step, of course, is again to act. Get into action. Embrace the flow and experiment with AI and see how it can help you to create creative flows, for example, or to sketch out the business plan for your new entrepreneurial endeavor, or how you can build an independent income without your 9-to-5 job. I've lived through that already. I also locked away a lot of my skills and my creativity for being successful in my corporate career. And now with my reset to Mexico and with my mentoring experience and with learning about myself and doing this inner work, I'm unlocking them again and I'm releasing them. And that doesn't mean I'm adopting all of them and I'm replacing my corporate stuff, but I'm integrating that into a whole. And by that I can build the life I want and I can do the things I really like. And if you're now committed to that, and the fact that you're seeing this video actually shows that you're already aware that you should change something and that you should do something about yourself. So I just encourage you to give it a chance. Because you've buried your shadow for so many years, obviously you cannot dig it out in 10 minutes and release everything. This process usually takes time. But if you do this exercise for 10-15 minutes daily, and if you continue this to do it over a few weeks, you will see a quick progress. And you will see it's a very pleasing and satisfying experience. And remember what Carl Jung said. He said, until the unconsciousness is conscious, it directs your life as fate. That means that our life is impacted by our unconsciousness if we want it or not. So the better way is to deal with our unconsciousness, to understand it, and to integrate it. And for you that means self-overcoming, not through suffering, but through flow. And to build resilience. And it's actually just a change of perspective, because you're not a victim of AI. You're the hero evolving into wholeness. Watching this video and showing interest shows you are becoming aware. So grab a notebook and start to journal. Don't wait anymore. Start your small reset ritual tonight. Think about one fear, map its archetype, and reclaim your power. And stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to our channel and we will update you and dig deeper in more videos. We're having weekly dives into Carl Jung's psychology for AI age sovereignty. Let's create this community together and let's stay human in the AI age. Thanks for joining and see you next time.